You are now entering the Sypnotix, and today we're talking about the Razer Edge. No, it's not Scott Hall's finisher, although I love Scott Hall, rest in peace, but it does share the same name. But this is an Android tablet from the gaming company Razer, and I have to say I really enjoy this. I like this a lot more than I thought I would, but there's something so ridiculously dumb about this thing that I can't believe we're even talking about it in this day and age, but that really has deterred me from wanting to use this for the long haul, and I'll tell you guys exactly what that is right now. To get some specs out of the way, I'll just list these things out. We have a Qualcomm Snapdragon G3X Gen 1 from benchmarks. This is kind of like a similar processing power to like a Snapdragon 888 or something like that. So relatively powerful mobile Android processor that we're kind of accustomed to with these last couple of years. This model that I do have has 6 gigabytes of RAM and 128 gigabytes of storage, and it does have micro SD card support. We'll talk a little bit about that later. It runs on Android 12. So essentially, this is a very high-powered Android tablet, which we can't say we've used a lot of in the last few years. Really, only Samsung has been making good quality Android tablets at the top end. I know Lenovo makes a few, but really, we haven't had a lot of great Android tablet experiences. On the other hand, one thing I do really like immediately about this tablet is that it has a 6.8-inch 2400 by 1080p AMOLED display, nice colors, good sharp image, 144 hertz refresh rate because it is a gaming tablet, and it's a 20:9 aspect ratio. So all good specs there. The thing with this tablet is it actually feels really nice to hold in the hand. It feels just like a tablet that both Lita and myself and a lot of other Android enthusiasts really liked in the past, the Nexus 7 tablet. That thing was just a beauty to hold, very small, great for one-hand usage. Nowadays, all the tablets are a little bigger than I would like. So 6.8-inch display here, but the body size is similar to what you would see on a flagship Android phone nowadays, like a Samsung S23 Ultra. It's about the same size as one of those phones. On the one hand, there is no 5G support on this model. There is a model that is being sold for a little bit more money that does have 5G support, and it has a SIM card exclusively through Verizon. I don't have that one. This is a Wi-Fi exclusive tablet. I just want to go a little more in depth about the actual performance on this thing because I did a video demonstrating what it could do in emulation purposes, and I am very impressed with this. This has not given me any pause for any issues. I have been playing all the games that I've wanted to emulate except for the capabilities of what the Razer software has. Okay, so let's try to talk about this because this really drives me a little bit crazy, and I for the life of me don't understand why this still hasn't been resolved with a software update, even though apparently Razer has said they're going to do it. But we have micro SD card support. Great, because this only has 128 gigabytes of storage. Micro SD card support is a must-have for gaming devices, right? But the problem with this is you have to format the card while in the tablet, right? So the minute you put it in, the tablet forces you to format the card to its preferred method of storage, which is FAT32. FAT32 is versatile for computers or whatnot, right? So you can use it on Mac and Windows, great. However, there's a limit to how big the files can get on there. 4 gigabytes is the max. Now, let's look at games that I kind of want to play on here, which is the PS2, right? PS2 emulators have a lot of great games that I can potentially play on here, but I can't play any of them because they're all bigger than 4 gigabytes in storage capacity. So you can't store PS2 games, or you can only store a handful of PS2 games on here to play on the micro SD card support. Then you may be asking, Alex, why don't we just store it onto the internal? The internal storage is only 128 gigabytes. Let's say Black Desert Online mobile. It's a lot of storage, right? So if you have that game, you have Genshin Impact or something, that takes up a lot of storage as it is, and we do need to use it for the system, right? Android updates do take up storage. That's why the micro SD card is there to offload some of that. And the frustrating thing is, When Razer made their phone, the Razer smartphone, that was around the time. I don't really remember exactly which Android update it was. I think it was either Marshmallow or around that era. Let me know in the comments below if you know what I'm talking about. One of the updates on Android actually allows the SD card to be used as an internal storage. It would basically format the SD card as internal storage. You can't do that here. I don't understand why all these years of Android development and we lose some of the features we used to have as a standard feature. This makes no sense at all that we have micro SD card support and it's forced at FAT32, so you can only do a max of 4 gigabytes of file. It just makes no sense, and I can't configure it as internal, even though I could have done that years ago on older Android devices. This is kind of like the fragmentation of Android and also the developers of Android or hardware makers like Razer. It makes no sense to have some of these things that we used to have, and it's a detrimental thing because it completely destroys the experience on here. This thing can handle PS2. It can. But the problem is I gotta throw it onto the internal, so how many games can I store in here? Not much. I really can't. I gotta make a sacrifice or have to constantly hook it up and tether it to my laptop or my computer to move around the RAW files. I really wanted to love this device because it has a lot going for it. It really does. Performance is exactly what I hoped. It did not let me down. That's basically what I wanted to say. This did not let me down in terms of performance. It did the Android games exactly how I wanted it. It did the emulation performance exactly how I envisioned it should handle it. It's great. It's great. It's held back by the limitations of Android. Obviously, you're using Android emulators, not necessarily like what we have on the Steam Deck. But there's not much of a difference there. The only difference is it's whatever Android emulators we do currently have. So right now, we're up to about maybe the Wii level and also PS2 level. So on Android, that's kind of the capabilities we have here on this current generation of Android app development. Battery life, I'm actually pretty happy with the battery life here. Nothing too bad with Android 12. Android 12 in general is not too power hungry from my experience on smartphones, and I'm happy to report on this tablet that it does the same here. It just runs smoothly, doesn't drain much power. I'm pretty happy with it. Now let's talk about the Kishi V2 Pro Controller, which only comes with the Razer Edge. You actually can't buy it by itself. You have to buy it in this package. I love this controller. I've had the original Kishi. There's a Kishi V2, which I have used, but I don't own that one. But this one is basically an upgrade version of the V2, and I think it's terrific. The buttons have great feeling when you have input on it. Just pushing it down, you hear the click. The clicks are so nice on here. I have to say, they feel so good when I input it with my thumb. It feels like a very solid controller. There's also a USB port on the right-hand side of the controller, so it passes power through into the tablet, so you can charge the tablet while you have this connected because it occupies the only USB-C port on the Razer Edge. So great that it has pass-through power here. Keep gaming when you're playing. I really do feel like this thing is essentially made for people who really like the Shield tablets and also really like something like back in the day, like what I was talking about, the Nexus 7 tablet. Great form factor, but with a controller built for this. This controller, you can argue, is actually built for this. It's only sold with this. You can only buy it for this. Of course, you can use it for any other device with a USB-C port, but it is sold with this tablet, so it's technically built for it. So I do feel like Razer has something here that is unique. I love reading webtoons and reading documents and articles on this form factor because it reminds me so much of the Nexus 7, which I love to hold in one hand. I personally don't like playing games, especially long-form games, on my smartphone because it drains the battery and it keeps other operations. I only have one SIM card that I use for both personal and business, so I do get calls and texts and emails when I'm playing games. And yes, you can turn that off, but I'd rather separate my personal time if I'm seriously gaming. If I have a controller attached to the device, I'm usually trying to like game for real, like make actual progress and actually play for real and hone my skills in a game. So in that aspect, I do like separating my mobile device, which is my phone, and also my mobile gaming device, which in this case is tablet. I know it's not necessarily available for everybody on their budget, but if you do have that capability, it is nice to have a dedicated gaming system that you can drain the battery on, and also your phone, which doesn't drain the battery on that, and you can preserve it for your actual work uses and personal life. There is a versatility here. There is something like if you're looking for a nice small tablet to use in one hand that's really fast, smooth, performs well, this is actually pretty good. This is a great airplane tablet, great airplane gaming system. They just need to fix that one thing to keep it from being unusable. That's really all I have to say about that.
So the other day, I was on a Zoom call at work, and I just dropped everything I was saying, and I told them, subscribe.